Hello and welcome to this FPL Gameweek 1 updated draft video with me, Holly Shand. I'm recording this video on Sunday after the Community Shield. We've got just 5 days to go to the start of the season, so we're getting very close to finalising those Gameweek 1 teams. And there are quite a few changes since the previous draft I shared with you 10 days ago. Now, before we get into the draft, I've had quite a few requests from you guys to come up with a membership scheme. So I've just launched my YouTube memberships for anyone who is interested. There's 2 tiers, the $1.99 tier, you get the emojis to use in my live streams, and I've got a live stream coming up on Thursday, which will be my first one for a while, so that's nice and exciting. And tier 2, which comes in at $4.99, also gives you exclusive access to my private Discord channel. So if you are interested in getting involved, all of your support would be muchly appreciated. And if you haven't already done so, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So I think the last draft I shared with you was a freemium draft, but to be honest with you, it didn't last for long before I started to feel uncomfortable with the squad balance. I had freemium attack, freemium defence, and then I was hoping that, you know, a couple of Wolves differentials and Arsenal differentials would carry me. But I kind of gone off that idea because I do think that the balance is much better if you go with 2 premiums rather than 3. Now, the draft that I'm going to share with you in a moment is a draft I've been on for about a week. However, it has changed a little bit given events from the final pre-season games that we've seen, including the Community Shield. So it was Raya in goal. I'm still backing him, having spoken to a coach at Brentford who assured me that he's still going to be first choice. And he's played all of Brentford's pre-season games now. Got a couple of clean sheets in the last few games as well, which is encouraging, even though Brentford do have some absentees in their defence for the start of the season. I've got that Trent Robertson double up that I've been on all pre-season, and you know, when you look at how well those two performed in a Community Shield game, like, there is no question that if I'm tripling up on Liverpool, I'm going double defence, not double attack. And I had Zinchenko in there and also João Cancelo, who I think is the safest route into the Manchester City team right now, given that he played more outfield minutes than any other player from Man City last season, and he scored the highest number of fantasy points as well. And then in midfield, I had Mo Salah, Neto, Mahrez, question marks over him now, and Martinelli. And I quite like the balance of this 4-4-2 formation in this squad because it allows you to pick up some of the best bench options in the game. I think Neto can be fantastic value this season. Mo Salah obviously just a must. And then up front I had Gabriel Jesus and Harry Kane. I've been monitoring Kane's form and Spurs' general form this pre-season, and they have looked very impressive. That full pre-season for Harry Kane is obviously crucial, having had some very busy seasons in recent years, and I think he could be one to really hit the ground running and really enjoy his football this season. First full season under Antonio Conte. Lots of, you know, new players coming in at Spurs to further strengthen the team. I really think Spurs could get in the mix with Man City and Liverpool for the top 3 this season. And then, as I've mentioned, on the bench, I've gone with Brentford backup Balcom. I do need to look into that 4 million goalkeeper. I may just go for the one with the nicest kit by the time it comes around to it. And then Andreas Pereira at Fulham and Neco Williams at Nottingham Forest. They are the best options to me for the 4.5 million midfielder and the 4 million defender. Also got Sam Greenwood in there, 4.5 million forward. But again, I do need to look into that position because if Greenwood doesn't hit the ground running at the start of the season, because he's in a lot of teams, he's going to drop in price quickly. So I may have to go with more of a safer option elsewhere. However, as this is the current draft, there's a few things that have happened in the last few days that have got me thinking I may need to change it up a bit. Now, I knew that the biggest risk in this draft going into the new season was Riyad Mahrez, but I've been quite fixated on having a piece of the Man City attack. And, you know, even though Haaland's ownership has steadily been going down, we have seen, however, that he's still very, very popular and he will punish me if I don't own him, particularly that Bournemouth fixture game week 2. So I thought maybe Mahrez could cover him. Mahrez said he was still on penalties. However, as always, it's minutes that's the big question. And to see him subbed around the hour mark for Alvarez in the Community Shield, and then Alvarez then going on to score has given me lots of doubts about Mahrez. I think looking now at this Man City attack, Mahrez and Alvarez are going to share minutes on the right-hand flank, and then Grealish and Foden are going to share minutes on the left-hand flank. And personally, I don't think it's worth investing in any of them at the moment. I think if you want a piece of the Man City attack, you have to go with Haaland or Kevin De Bruyne, or you look at Cancelo in defence. I did look at the double up on the Man City defence, but they've got injuries at the moment. Laporte's out for the first 6 weeks of the season. They've lost Zinchenko. They haven't managed to get Cucurella. I just think, given that they've just conceded 3 goals to Liverpool, I think there are better options than doubling up on the Man City defence at the start of the season. So it looks like Cancelo may be my only option. Now, another thing that happened in the final pre-season games at Arsenal was that we saw Saka take a penalty when Martinelli was on the pitch. We saw in game week 38 of last season, Martinelli won a penalty and converted it, and we were all expecting Saka to be on that penalty. So we thought that maybe Martinelli would be on penalties. We thought it could even go to Gabriel Jesus, but to see Saka back on penalties has really, given him a little bit more stock. So I'm happy with Arsenal's fixtures to double up on the Arsenal attack. Going with Saka and Jesus is a lot of money compared with Martinelli and Jesus, but I do think that could be the best route. And because I'm losing Mahrez and I don't want Diaz in that 8 million midfield slot, I'm not really interested in Kulusevski while I've got Kane either. It's kind of between Maddison, Mount, Saka now for me of who gets that final spot. And on fixtures alone, I think Saka is the one to go for. Mount, the fact that he plays Spurs in game week 2 puts me off. Maddison's fixtures are very patchy, even though I do feel like Leicester could have a good start to the season. But the fact that Saka is back on penalties, great fixtures, nailed on in that Arsenal attack, means that I'm quite happy to double up on them. So who replaces Martinelli then? Obviously, I've had, a bit of a change of heart on him because he's not on penalties and he is a rotation risk. I've been looking at Aston Villa's Leon Bailey, who has scored 3 or 4 goals in pre-season. He seems to be nailed on for now in the Aston Villa attack. Obviously, it's a short-term pick, but if I wildcard early, it's not an issue anyway. And we do have starters that we can have on our benches, which does make it a little bit less risky going for a player like Bailey. But Aston Villa have got a great start to the season. And looking around the Aston Villa squad, unless you go Matty Cash in defence, there isn't really anyone that I feel is really worthy of investment. So I'm happy to take a punt on a player like Bailey, given his pre-season form. I try and say don't back players based on pre-season form in general, but I'm going to make an exception in this case because at 5 million, he could be absolutely fantastic value for our FPL squads. Now, the player that I've had a little bit of a change of heart on, and it is frustrating for me, is I really wanted to get on that Arsenal defence. There's great options at 4.5 and 5 million. I had Tomiyasu for a long time. He's played no minutes in pre-season, so he simply isn't an option. White and Saliba. Now, I think Saliba is first choice centre-back at 4.5 million. However, there is a little bit of question marks there. We've seen Ben White actually standing in at right back in the final few pre-season games, which is an interesting one. Zinchenko has been at left back because Tierney has a bit of an injury. I liked Zinchenko as a potential out of position a prospect, but I think given Tierney's injury record, it's probably not going to happen very often. And we've seen Xhaka and Partey be like the go-to midfielders to play CDM for Arsenal this pre-season as well. So I've gone off Zinchenko a little bit, and to be fair, my head has been turned by Perisic. Perisic was in my original Game Week 1 squad when I posted my first draft 3 weeks ago. Maybe it was a little bit longer, maybe it's getting on for 4 weeks now, and I really liked him in terms of his value he provides and his attacking threat under Conte at Spurs. However, we hadn't seen much of him in pre-season. However, he did play quite a few minutes yesterday and looked really impressive. So I'm back on Perisic. Now, in terms of getting all of those new players into my draft, so obviously we've got Mahrez out for Saka, Martinelli out for Bailey, and Zinchenko out for Perisic. I do have 0.5 million spare, which I haven't spent at the moment. I was wavering on the goalkeeper spot earlier in the week, but I think I'm happy to go with Raya at the moment in this current draft. So there are a little bit of a few decisions to make. Do I go Son over Kane, which is an option, but I like the fact that Kane can go to Haaland if I really need him to. at any point. I can keep the 0.5 million in the bank, but I do doubt my willpower the closer we get to the game week 1 deadline to keep that money in the bank. The other thing that I've really been looking at that a few people pointed out is that I kind of overlooked Trippier as a defensive option because Newcastle United do have some tricky fixtures in the opening few weeks, but he does rotate quite well with a few of the most budget bench players in the game. So that's something that I could look into, but I'm a little bit far away from that at the moment. So I'm not sure how that 0.5 million will be spent, and there's certainly going to be a few more changes coming up prior to the game week 1 deadline, but this is where I'm at with my current draft at the moment. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Do get in the comments as well if you've got any dilemmas, and if you want to speak to me directly, you can get me on the private Discord channel if you sign up to the YouTube memberships. I've also written a little write-up all about what happened in the Community Shield, so if you're interested in reading that, you'll find that over on Fantasy Football Hub, where you can get 50% off your memberships this pre-season and win your mini league or your money back. I'll be back on Tuesday with the Game Week 1 preview, and then I'm going to have a live stream on Thursday as well ahead of the Game Week 1 deadline on Friday. So it's going to be a very exciting week in FPL and over on my YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another video.